Good morning, fifth grade. Hopefully, everybody had a great weekend. We're heading down the home stretch right now. School is almost over. We have two more lessons to go, and then we are done for the year. So, today we're going to be working on one step equations with integers. So, we have already done the one step equations before, but now we're going to add our integers into everything. So, let's see if we can find our notes. So, you're in your Google Classroom, go over to classwork. Scroll down here to integers, click on that, and you will see here your one-step equation notes. So let's see what we have here today. So as you see here, we're dealing with the one-step equation notes. Before we get into this, let's go over a couple of things here. Now remember, when we were talking about solving equations, we had a goal. Okay, let's see if you remember what the goal is when solving an equation. Do you remember? Yes, you do. It was isolating the variable. We want to get the variable all by itself. Okay, that is the goal here. We got to get the variable all by itself. Now, remember, we talked about doing opposite operations. Since we had to get the variable all by itself, we have to get that number that's attached to it. So if I had x plus -2, okay, equals 4. Okay. Now remember what we said. We said, hey, the goal is to get this variable x all by itself. Okay. Now remember, the x does not like anybody. It does not have any friends. It cannot stand the numbers at all. So anybody that is on the same side as the variable has to go to the other side. So we got to kick them over to the other side. So as you remember, when we were solving with this, we're going to be doing 3 steps. Okay. Now with the integers, we may add a step here to make life a little bit easier for you, but basically we're still dealing here with 3 steps. So as you remember, goal, get the variable all by itself. So now how am I going to get this plus -2 to the other side? Now remember, we said we had to do the opposite operation. Now we'll talk more about this, what we have to do. So we have to get this -2 to the other side over here. And remember what we said, what we do to one side, we must do to the other. Then we also talked about the variable being a neat freak. It likes things all cleaned up. We must clean up our garbage and then solve for the variable and then check it. So let's go back here. Let's see how we can do this here. Now, we have here the first one here. We have x plus -2 equals -4. If you want to, we can rewrite this a different way. You do not have to do this step here. This is up to you, okay? But we know that x plus -2 is the same as x minus 2. If you want to write that step in there, great. If you're okay and you understand how that step works and you want to skip it, that's fine also. So if we go back up here to the top, this is plus -2. The opposite of -2 is what? +2. So remember, what we do to one side, we must do the other. So if I'm going to add 2 here, I must add 2 over here. Okay? And remember, the variable is a neat freak. Clean up your garbage. You know that -2 plus 2 is 0. These cancel out. Since they can't cancel out on that side, we're just left here with the x equals -4 plus 2. Okay, -4 plus 2 is -2. You cannot forget about your integer, all the rules for adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. Make sure you follow those rules, okay? So as you can see here, x equals -2. Now, let's check it. Let's take this -2, which is what x is, and plug it into the x. So let's go over here. If x was -2, we'll do our -2 plus -2 equals -4. Is this true? Is -2 plus -2 -4? Yes, it is. So -4 equals -4. And yes, you are correct. So we know that that one there is correct. Okay, let's go down here to our next one here. I have -9 plus x equals 10. Okay, well, the plus x, that just stays the same. There's nothing wrong there. We really don't need to change anything up. This is a negative 8. Opposite of negative 8 is positive 8. I'm sorry, 9. That's a 9. Yes, that's a 9. So the opposite of negative 9 is positive 9. So we're going to add 9 to both sides here. That's going to be the key here. Negative 9 plus x equals 10 plus 9. Now, as you see here, negative 9 plus 9 is 0. These cancel out. Clean up your garbage. Get rid of that stuff. X equals 10 plus 9. 10 plus 9 is 19. X equals 19. 19 should be our answer. So let's see if it actually works. Let's take this 19, plug it in for the x here, and we get negative 9 plus 19 equals 10. Well, let's figure out what negative 9 plus 19 is. Correct. It's 10. Does 10 equal 10? Yes. That means this is correct. And we know that x equals negative 19 is correct. Okay, let's look down here. So we dealt with some addition there. We're now going to deal with some subtraction. So let's see what we have here. We have x minus 11 equals negative 5. Well, remember, this minus 11 is the same as plus negative 11, okay? So whatever way you want to think about it works. So we know the opposite of subtracting 11 is adding 11. So we're going to add 11 to both sides because what I do to one side, I must do to the other. Very good, okay? So I add it to both sides here. Now, if we take a look here, negative 11 plus 11. Negative 11 plus 11 is 0. So these cancel out. Clean up your garbage. You're left with x equals negative 5 plus 11. Okay? Negative 5 plus 11 is 6. Use your addition rules for the integers. So let's check and see if this is correct. So I take my negative 6, put it in where the x is. 6 minus 11 equals negative 5. Let's see if this is correct. 6 minus 11, okay, this is the same as 6 plus negative 11. Signs are different. Subtract them. Keep the sign of the larger absolute value. If you remember, we talked about that. So you do get negative 5. Negative 5 equals negative 5. And yes, this is correct. Okay, let's get into some multiplication. Now, this is pretty basic, okay? As long as you remember what the multiplication rules and the division rules are, life's pretty easy here. Now, if we look here, we got 4x equals negative 24. I always say to you guys, hey, what's happening between the 4 and the x? Is it being added, subtracted, multiplied, or divided? Well, you typically say, hey, it's being multiplied, Mr. Spencer. You're absolutely correct. So what's the opposite of multiplication? Correct, division. So this is a positive 4, so I'm going to divide by a positive 4 on both sides. So I divide by positive 4 on both sides. So 4x divided by 4, remember, use fractions. You're big enough now to use your fractions, equals negative 24 over 4. Do not lose your negative. So we know that these are going to cancel out. Well, they don't really cancel out. They become a 1. Okay, if you remember, 4 over 4 is 1. So clean up your garbage. X equals negative 24 over 4. So far, so good. What is negative 24 divided by 4? That is negative 6. So let's see if our answer is correct. Let's check it. 4 times negative 6 equals negative 24. What is 4 times negative 6? Well, signs are different. Since they're different, our answer is negative. So it's negative 24 equals negative 24. Yes, we are correct. Okay, let's try a division one now. Remember, don't screw this up. Do not say, hey, I'm going to multiply on this side and divide on this side. It does not work. Make sure what you do to one side, you must do to the other. So as you know here, we have x over 5, or x divided by 5 equals negative 7. Okay, so what's happening between the x and the 5? It's being divided. Opposite of division is multiplication. So I'm going to multiply by 5 on both sides. So I'll multiply over here by 5, and remember to multiply over here by 5. Now, as you know, what happens to 5 over 5? They cancel. They just become a 1. If you had a 1x here, that's fine. Okay, but x equals negative 7 times 5. Negative 7 times 5 is negative 35. So let's check and see if we have this correct. Plug your negative 35 in for the x. So you get negative 35 over 5 equals negative 7. Okay. Negative 35 divided by 5 is negative 7. Negative 7 equals negative 7. Yes, these are correct. Awesome job. Awesome job. So what we're going to do here, why don't you hit pause right now, and why don't you go through these 4 here to see how you can do and make sure you check them to make sure you get the answer right. Okay, welcome back here. Here we go. Now remember we said 2 negatives together like this. We have y minus negative 6 equals negative 10. These 2 negatives together, remember we said, hey, connect them together, make it a plus. Okay, so really I have y plus 6 equals negative 10. That's actually what we have here. Okay, now what's the opposite of positive 6? Negative 6, or we're subtracting 6. So we have to subtract 6 on both sides. So y plus 6 minus 6 equals negative 10 minus 6. Okay, we know that the plus 6 minus 6, those cancel. Okay, clean up our garbage here. We get y equals negative 10 minus 6. Negative 10 minus 6 is negative 16. So y equals negative 16. You should have got that as your answer. So if we were to check this, okay, we'd go negative 16 minus negative 6 equals negative 10. Okay, so we know this is the same as negative 16 plus 6, okay, because our negatives here become a positive, equals negative 10. And negative 16 plus 6 is negative 10. So negative 10 equals negative 10. And yes, this is correct. So our answer of y equals negative 16 is correct. Okay, let's go down here to the next one. So let's analyze this one here. First of all, I have negative 4 and x together. This is multiplication, okay? Opposite of multiplication is what? Division. So you should be dividing both sides by negative 4. Do not lose that negative. So we get negative 4x over negative 4, okay, because I'm dividing it by negative 4. Keep that x up there. Do not divide it by negative 4x. No, because that cancels that whole thing out and becomes 1. Don't do that. We need that x there. Equals negative 80 over negative 4. Okay, now as you can see here, this negative 4 over negative 4 cancels out, and I'm left here with x. Clean up your garbage. X equals negative 80 over negative 4. Okay, what is negative 80 divided by negative 4? Well, you know that these negatives are going to cancel out and become a positive. Okay, 2 negatives divided together equal a positive. So x equals 20. Okay, we're going to get a positive a of 20 here. So let's check it. Negative 4 times 20, does that equal negative 80? Okay, well, let's take a look here. Negative 4 times 20, okay? So we have an odd number of negatives, which means our answer will be negative. And 4 times 20 is 80. Oh, that's a terrible way to do it like that. Negative 80 equals then negative 80. So yes, this is correct. Very good. Very, very good. Question so far. Should be doing well. Okay, here we go. Let's go down here to the next one. Okay, this is an addition one, but really it's sort of a subtraction one because we have y plus negative 8 equals positive 14. And if I were to say, hey, this is the same as, if we want to say, this is the same as y minus 8 equals 14. If you want to put this step in there to make your life easier, you can do that. So you know y minus 8 equals 14. What's the opposite of minus 8? Plus 8. So I'm going to have to add 8 on both sides. So we get y minus 8 plus positive 8 equals 14 plus 8. Okay, so as you do know, these negative 8 plus 8, those cancel out. Clean up your garbage. Y equals 14 plus 8. Okay, and we can say, hey, y equals, put my equals there, 22. Okay, let's see if this makes sense. Let's substitute this 22 in up here for the y. So we get 22 plus negative 8, I'll put this in parentheses, equals 14. Okay, now remember, we're adding, signs are different, which means, hey, we subtract them, keep the sign of their larger absolute value. Larger absolute value is 22. So go 22 minus 8 is 14. Does 14 equal 14? Of course it does. So that means our answer is correct of y equals 22. Okay, last one here. Let's take a look here. Let's analyze this one here. It says x over 7. Hey, this means x divided by 7. What's the opposite of division? Multiplication. So I'm going to multiply both sides by positive 7. Okay, so remember, you're going to multiply both sides by positive 7. You're not going to multiply on one side and divide on the other side. You must do the exact same thing. So here we go. I'll do 7x over 7 equals negative 3 times, because I multiplied over here, so I must multiply over here, negative 3 times 7. Okay, as you know, this 7 over 7, they cancel out. The x still stays there, but the 7s cancel out, becomes a 1. So I'm left with x equals negative 3 times 7. Okay, and x is going to equal negative 3 times 7 equals negative 21. Okay, let's check and see if we're correct. So I got negative 21 over here over 7, which means negative 7 divided by 21 equals negative 3. Okay, so negative 21 over 7 does equal negative 3. So negative 3 equals negative 3. And yes, that means we are correct. Our answer is correct. That means that x does equal negative 21. Okay, guys, I hope you understood everything. If not, rewatch the video. If you still have any questions or concerns, please shoot me out an email. Your homework I have attached to the email today, and it's also found on your Google Classroom. Other than that, guys, have a great day. You can start on your homework today, or you can wait until tomorrow. It's up to you. Take care and have a great day. Bye-bye.